Okay, we're recording now. All right, so tell me about the initial event of receiving, and we can say his name on the interview because our instructor is the only one that's going to see it. But when I write my paper, I'm going to change his name just so if anyone else sees it, they won't, you know what I mean? Just for private. So tell me the initial event of receiving the news of Ty's diagnosis before he was born. What were the events like leading up to it?
So about, I think it was 8 months before we had the miscarriage. So I made Mom or Dave come with me to every appointment. And at our 20-week ultrasound appointment, Dave was able to get off work to come with me. And I remember talking to Annie, and I'm like, yeah, I don't dare go to any appointments alone just in case I get bad news. Like Dave has to be there. So we get there and we're talking with the tech, joking around about him, like Ty being crazy like Riker and everything. And she mentions something looks off and goes and gets the doctor. And me and Dave just kind of waited there, talking and wondering what was going on. And the doctor came in. I couldn't even really look at him just because I knew something was wrong. And I finally asked him, and he's like, well, your baby has spina bifida. And at that time, that was the worst possible news we could have gotten about him. That was our first glimpse into Ty.
Yeah, worst fears confirmed that something was wrong with this, with our next one after the miscarriage. And, it was rough because we were just hoping that everything was going to be fine and we'll get this last little guy here without issue. But, so that was rough. And the doctor was very kind. Dr. Porter's been with us since the beginning with our other three, and he was very sweet and, made sure Lacey was okay. And, just very, very supportive. So that was helpful.
Yeah.
But still, it wasn't easy to get that news.
No.
And then search what spina bifida was, and all these other questions, and start that process. That was hard.
Yeah.
So what were some things like running through your head after they mentioned that he has like spina bifida? Were you thinking short term, long term? Like what were some of your thoughts?
We knew this was going to be something that affected him his whole life. So we asked questions. Like I was worried about how he would, like what his prognosis was basically like.
Yeah,
would he be able to function? And at that time, before we knew more about Ty, things, didn't look as bad. Like they're like, they can still live a good life. Like they'll have a disability. But yeah, so we just got the scoop from Dr. Porter.
Well, that was our first question too, is, having the miscarriage that had those other complications is because I didn't know what spina bifida was. Is that going to be similar to, the baby that we miscarried? Is he going to even make it out of the womb? And
that was the scariest part is we didn't even know, like, regardless, we were going to meet this baby, and we didn't know the circumstances.
Yeah. So describe the process as like it came closer to being time for him to be delivered. Like what were the events leading up to that? Like as time moved on and you were able to process, like, that he was going to have some special needs. Like what were you thinking, and what was your experience when he actually was delivered?
Well, up until that point, every appointment we went to, we had people coming in that says, oh, so-and-so has a son with spina bifida, and he's in the wheelchair, but he does like the BMX game stuff. And, is jumping 2 feet when his wheelchair, and still very cognitive, has those cognitive abilities, and is really, really smart and does everything. It's just legs don't work as well as some. And, a lot of people were trying to get, uplift us and give us positive stories. And that's obviously before we knew Ty had all the other issues that he does.
Yeah. And I just remember it was pretty regularly. I would go and get Dave and just ask and be like, am I ever going to feel normal again? Like, are we ever going to feel okay again? Or are we constantly just going to have this pit in our stomach worrying about Ty?
Yeah. I mean, it's very overwhelming. I mean, to say the least, because, you know, you go through, it's almost like a grieving process, because, you know, your child that you'd have all these hopes for even before they're born, that you're so excited to meet, you know, you suddenly start going through a lot of the things that they won't ever be able to do, and what may they not be able to experience in this life, and this and that. And that part was really hard for me, just to the unknown. I mean, that's the worst part of it. And as we got closer and closer, you know, with Lacey's other complications like the preeclampsia and all these other, you know, early labor, we had that kind of unknown to deal with as well. That we didn't know when he'd be here. I mean, we were looking to see if we were a candidate for an in utero surgery that would let him close up his back. And, you know,
I had to go in for an MRI with him, and they had to look at all that. So it was just all overwhelming getting, I mean, the people that were there to uplift, like there were both sides that were good and bad. Like we were getting all this information all at once, but like Dave said before, like there were so many good people that were helping us get to a good point. So I think by the time we had Ty, we were at I don't know,
like in a good place, or?
Yes and no, just because it came so unexpectedly, that was hard. But I feel like the initial spina bifida side of things, we were like, it's going to be okay.
Yeah, you kind of come to terms with it more, you know, and we have such a great support system with family and friends and people around that, you know, it made it easier to come to terms with things and, you know that whatever's going to happen will be okay, and, you know, relied a lot on our faith and love for one another. And, you know, it just, that part helped a lot to, you know, between blessings and, you know,
we got
a lot of help.
Blessings, and
that made it easier to kind of deal with. And then, you know, the initial day of delivery, that was nuts. I mean, it was just unreal. Trying to, you know, going to early labor this time, it wasn't preeclampsia, and, you know, just the doctor happened to come in and check her vitals and realized, oh my gosh, they're off the charts, even though we weren't seeing it. And, you know, coding her and rushing her off to the emergency room and leaving me in the dust, just, you know, hanging out.
Not knowing when they pulled.
Yeah, I didn't even know they had delivered Ty, and they were closing Lacey up by the time I got there. So, you know, but.
Was that information
that I didn't know that. Yeah.
I wasn't sure if you answered that, what you were looking for.
Pretty intense.
Yeah, no, that is intense, and I didn't know that part. So that is intense and super hard. So,
well, and as a side note, I mean, I try and find the humor in things, and, you know, kind of that happy-go-lucky kind of guy. And, you know, they did give me scrubs to go into the operating room, and the pants were huge, like super baggy, and the shirt was super tight. Like, so they gave me like a medium, and I should have at least like an extra large, 2X,
so
something
that's
like that.
Also, yeah, why?
So I got in there and was cracking jokes, and the anesthesiologist was giving me crap about my clothes not fitting, and I'm like, oh, I just got what I could. You know, but it was.
He found humor during the chaos.
Try and lighten the mood a little bit, but.
Yeah, to find the humor in situations, that's important. So what, after Ty was delivered, explain, like, how did you find out that there was more than just spina bifida going on? Like what was the timeline, like the processes? How did they just come to find out that there was more going on than spina bifida?
So it was actually 2 months after he was born. He was finally able to get his shunt in. And I remember it was the day before Dave's birthday. We got his shunt in. We were all excited. He was 2 months old, and
His back was finally closed.
Yeah, his back was
good. This is like 4 surgeries into it finally, you know.
Yeah.
And
he had gotten meningitis and got through it. Like we thought we were at a good point. Like we were just celebrating. And then the doctor came up to us and he's like, Ty just doesn't look proportionate. So we want to do genetic testing. And so that right there just made me, I wasn't ready. Like I kind of always wondered if I was a carrier of that genetic mutation, but I never really wanted to find out. Mm-hmm. And so when she came to me with that, I really didn't want to even know at that point. Yeah. But it just felt like they were moving things along without.
It was,
I don't know.
It was really poor timing.
Yeah.
I mean, we just had this win with the shunt being put in and everything went smoothly. And the genetics part of it was something that was always in the back of our minds that we wanted to hopefully avoid. And we kept pushing it off.
We're like, we'll just see as he gets bigger if there's anything. But looking back now, it was probably a good thing. But yeah, so they started that process.
That was frustrating because it took a few weeks because they kept filing it under the wrong name. So it was under Boy Lacey Goddard instead of Ty Goddard.
They had 2 separate things.
And so they kept checking the wrong account and couldn't. I mean, they had the results weeks ago, and I kept bugging them to try and get it. And the day they finally came through with the process, Lacey, you were with the kids, and I had to go by myself, and I sat across from a panel of about 7 doctors. Wow. So there's me on one side, 7 doctors on the other, and I had to try and.
Yeah, he was there by himself. Me and the kids were homesick, and
that was probably one of the most intense things I've ever been through. Knowing the information we were probably going to get and dreading it, but also going with my barrage of questions for them and possible loopholes out of it.
Yeah, and that's just it. I feel like we kept trying to find loopholes, or just a hope, I guess, like that he would have a chance with normal cognitive function. Mm-hmm. And so we just went at them with everything. Like, I don't know.
It was rough, but after a little bit, when we got the news, we came to terms with it, and that was a whole nother process trying to get through it together. It resulted in a lot of drives around town, just talking and trying to work through it, and we go through each stage of emotion, where we're frustrated, we've accepted it. No, now we're mad. Now we're trying to justify and cope. And it took us a while to kind of settle down and come to terms with it.
And the first initial one thing, like before they were doing before we got the results of the testing, but we knew what they were doing, I remember asking certain questions about Ty, like to the nurses and everything. And if they would even like pause about something, I remember getting a panic attack about it. Like, okay, this is really off with him. Like, and I'd never experienced that before. Like all these emotions were such new feelings to me. Like I didn't know I hadn't experienced that level of grief basically. Like, and there was a nurse there that she was so sweet. Like I remember after they mentioned they wanted to do genetic testing and I wanted to get as far away from the hospital as possible. And I was feeling really guilty because I wanted to be there for Ty. But at the same time, all these emotions I was feeling, I'm like, I can't keep getting bad news about my son. And I hadn't said anything to her. She just looked at me and said, you need to hold Ty right now. Like, you need to hold your son. And so just people there that saw my son as a human and not the medical side of things helped so much. Like when I could look at Ty and be like, you are this perfect little human. Like you might have medical things, but you are a human. Like you're not this medical chart.
Yeah. Well, and what's unique about that is, it took a while to even be able to hold him because he needed his back closed and his spine was exposed and all those nerve endings were exposed. And then when she said, Lacey, you need to hold him, he was hooked up to a ton of different stuff. Like it was not easy to be able to hold him.
Because his shunt had just barely gone in, and it was hard to move him around.
It was a process for sure. But we're grateful for the support system we had here with our family, friends, and then at the hospital. I mean, we still have people we'll go back and see and, give us a big hug and love on Ty.
And even though they're in the medical field, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, sorry, that was probably more information than what you wanted with your question.
No, I was going to say, and even being in the medical field, for that nurse to feel that inspiration to know, follow that prompting and tell you to hold him, even though, some nurses, that wouldn't be the first thing they would tell you to do. So that's a huge blessing. Okay. So
good.
That is awesome. So tell me, knowing the needs that Ty has, how has this affected your family, and how do you see it affecting your family in the future?
Well,
boy,
we're constantly, he has cares we have to do every few hours, like every 3-4 hours. So we're definitely not able to get out as easy as we could. But I feel
how many months old is he right now?
So he will be 10 months old on the 11th, on April 11th.
Mm-hmm.
And his stuff, it's always going to be stuff we have to do with him. So, I mean, I feel like we're learning to be more efficient.
Yeah.
More schedule, but
it's definitely a process. I mean, trying to get the routine down and kind of shape your life or reshape your life to go around that, with our other kids, it's easy just to get them in the car and go. And with Ty, when we first got him home, I mean, he was on high flow oxygen, which they don't normally do. But because we'd had experience with that with oxygen with our other kids, they let us bring him home on that. So it was just to go to the doctors down the road. It was get the oxygen tank, get the monitor, get him in the car seat, get him hooked up,
tube, and make sure he's got food, his cathing supplies.
Make sure he has his emergency supplies. If the G2 button falls out, make sure he has another, if the cath needs, it's just.
Yeah. So at least we don't have the
things
oxygen.
And things. But now, that we've reduced some of his meds. I mean, he's got probably 5 meds he takes every day, morning and night.
And what are his needs right now as far as, so he has to be cath and he has to G-tube that's how he eats, right?
Yeah. And so that requires cleaning each day and retaping and rotating so it doesn't, because it's just a hole straight into his stomach, and
so keeping that clean.
And are you still doing, because you had mentioned that you had been pumping and doing straight breast milk, is that still all he gets, which is amazing?
He's able to do thicker consistency. So
by mouth.
One time throughout the day, I'll give him some bananas to eat. But other than that, it's still just
breast milk. Wow. Okay. Wow. That is amazing. I think you guys are doing a great job, just so you know. So are there any special challenges that have been there since the birth of Ty? Other than special challenges, like what special challenges have you seen as far as, I don't know, like with your other children, or you had mentioned traveling that's an event in and of itself. Yeah. Are there any challenges that you are aware of?
Yeah, I mean, during all this too, I mean, we bought a house and I changed jobs.
And our daughter got Kawasaki disease.
Yeah, another rare autoimmune disease that was, usually in little Asian boys, not little blonde-haired girls. And so
yeah, under 5, and our daughter was 5.
It was, I mean, the adjustment with everything else. I mean, my boss just wanted to take us out to dinner and meet Lacey, and that was a challenge to try and break away and do that and make sure Ty was cared for. Yeah. Our other kids, trying to explain to them why, what's going on with Ty and some of the cares we had to do. Now it's just second nature to them. They're like, whatever.
So but they know so much more than I think any kid should know, but I think they're better because of it. But I mean, even just like challenges, like with our other kids, one thing that I have a hard time with is not being able to help out at school like I'd like to with our other kids too. Like, I just feel like there's these little things that it's hard, but I mean, we're still doing good.
Yeah. So what are some of the blessings that you've seen because of Ty?
I think it's definitely brought our family closer together. Not that we were distant or anything, but I think our kids, I mean, the love they have for Ty is just unbelievable to see how much they care for him. And, you know, when his favorite thing is to sit in his little swing by our big front window and kind of look out over the valley. And, you know, he has his little mobile that goes and that will stop after a few minutes. And so they come and turn it on for him and give him a little pat on the cheek and there you go, baby Ty. And, you know, they just look out for him and take care of him and keep him entertained.
And I just feel like there's so many good people that have come into our lives because of Ty. Like, I initially seeing or like learning about Ty and everything, you see all kind of the medical stress of it. And you have these feelings of kind of feeling selfish that, oh, this is going to be hard for me, but also seeing your child like hurt and everything and or having all this medical stuff. But he honestly, like, if it weren't for him in these challenges, we would have not seen so much good. And that's not something I guess I expected. Like, that's something that took me by surprise. Is, I don't know, just all the good that comes from these trials.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think about
you see how much people like truly do care and look out for you. And I mean, we moved into a whole new neighborhood throughout all of this, and we had neighbors showing up with food. Like, we had people sign up for assignments, but we also had people that didn't sign up that still just brought us stuff and just wanted to make sure we were doing okay.
Well, I don't think it's by any accident that we, you know, things worked out how they did to be able to buy this home. And the neighborhood we're in that has our next door neighbor who had a daughter with spina bifida, you know, and a neighbor down the road
the street who has a son with spina bifida. And I mean, I guess another thing worth mentioning is the fact that the house that we're in right now was Dave's grandma's home, and she passed away 5 days before Ty was born.
We had a funeral Friday and Ty was born Sunday. I mean, it was such a crazy time, and very emotional to go through all that, you know. But the blessings have been tenfold. I mean, for all that we've been through, I think everything is, it kind of is a blur to realize where we are, where we're at. But it's been such a great blessing, and I attribute it to that support system again that we've had.
So, do you see purpose, like? When you look at what you've been through, do you see purpose in everything that has happened, you know, during that time and because of it so far in your life? Do you see that there's a purpose in it?
I definitely do. Like, there's nothing that has happened that I think has been by accident. Like, when I miscarried the baby almost 2 years ago, we learned that the baby had a chromosome issue, and that's what caused the miscarriage essentially. So me and Dave talked about if we had a special needs kid, and then everything with Ty that happens. Like, I honestly believe everything lined up the way it was meant to. Like, I believe that this is how our lives are meant to be. I believe Ty is here doing his purpose, even if it's not the typical child. Like, he I don't know. I get emotional talking about him.
He has such a loving demeanor, and he just lights up the room and spreads joy wherever he goes. And, you know, and yeah, as difficult as the routine can be sometimes, it's just, you look at him and you just want to squeeze his little cheeks and give him a big squeeze. And I mean, he really is just the chillest little dude, and he's just a happy little guy and just brings joy. And so, yeah, there's definite, you know, life shifted directions from what we initially had thought, but it's definitely, I feel, for the better.
Yeah, I I believe it. Yeah.
So you definitely feel like there's been preparation for him coming to your family. Like you feel like there were steps leading you to being prepared to having him and understanding his needs and being there for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I feel throughout my life, that different experiences always prepare you for what's coming ahead down the road. Um, from just things throughout junior high and high school you experienced that prepared you for your mission and for where you're going, unique experiences that only you have that can be shared with someone else to uplift and, help someone in their time of need. I think about what we've gone through with Ty and, how he's already uplifted people and, brought so much joy. And then I think down the road, there's going to be more that we'll be able to share and help with. And, and just, and then all the help we've gotten in return from people that have gone through the same thing and
or similar.
Yeah. I mean, it's there's definitely a plan.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you guys mentioned that like in coping with, the different news that you would receive and stuff and the different challenges that came up, how you guys would drive around and talk about things. What other things do you do as a couple to keep your relationship strong in the face of the stress and the worry that can accompany the challenge? What are some things that you do as a couple?
No, just kidding.
We watch TV series. No, we stay we stay pretty open about our feelings about things. Like I feel like me and Dave have been on the same page. Like when we talk, we're pretty blunt with the reality of things. Like, I don't know, we're just pretty open, but I don't know. Yeah. I feel like we're not able to like get out as much at this point, but
it also
there have been times we've been able to go on dates and it's been good.
Well, it makes it more of a priority. Like you have to plan it and do it. And I feel like I enjoy it more when we go out, and just because it's something mixing up the routine a little bit. And, I think just being there for each other, even if it is just watching a TV show or a movie
or he lets me have my meltdowns and he's very good about it. He understands.
Good.
But I mean, I don't know. I feel like, again, like I said, it brought us closer together. I mean, not that we were distant before, but I mean, there's definitely a different spirit in our home. And to be able to say that, we have a home, that also kind of helped this whole thing. I can't imagine still being stuck in my parents' basement with 2 rooms and a bunch of craziness going on. But
yeah.
Lots of blessings. So you think it's very important to communicate openly about how you're feeling and not just pretend like, oh, everything's okay. Like you really actually talk about it.
We do. And, sometimes it's not the easiest thing just because you don't want to think of hard things that can come. But I feel like it is very therapeutic that we both understand, like, I don't know, but it also makes you appreciate the good so much more. Like when people ask me about Ty and everything, I'm like, he's always going to have stuff, but he's doing so good right now. And we're just happy with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it seems like you point out a lot of the positives and the goods and the good that's going on. So that's awesome. So you focus on the good.
Yes.
What ways can you think of that each one of your individual children have grown? Like, I know you mentioned that they help him and they turn on his little mobile and pat his cheek and stuff. And in what ways have you seen each specific child grow since Ty's been born?
I think Mackenzie's the little mother. Mm-hmm. She is so good about like mornings and everything. She'll help get breakfast going. She's even asked, because she'll help me with some of Ty's cares, like cleaning out his eyes in the morning or just stuff like that. And she asked me, she's like, can I learn to cath him? And I'm like, maybe when you're a little bit older. Okay. But I feel like she's such a nurturer. Mm-hmm. So there's been that with Mackenzie. And then
I think Brinley, she has such a love for Ty that she just loves to read him a story or, play puppies with him and make sure he's just taken care of.
And I was initially worried about that because Brinley is usually afraid of things that are different.
Mm-hmm.
Like she loves everything soft and cuddly. She loves babies, but anything that can be scary, she's afraid of and she wants to hide. So that.
Well, and in the hospital, she got the opportunity to hold Ty and was really nervous and timid about it. Now she gets really sad if she can't hold him. Mm-hmm. She just loves him and, just wants to squeeze him and cuddle him. And we kind of have to hold her back a little bit.
They honestly have the best relationship.
And then Riker he really wants his brother to play cars with him. I mean, Riker's the little boy that wants, he wants his buddy to come play in the dirt and, so Riker he's still learning,
if he's like wild, like the other day, he was being kind of wild around Ty. So I'm like, Riker, you got to settle down. And he goes, oh, I'm sorry, baby Ty. You so cute.
Yeah.
So you definitely see the love that they have for him. And
like there haven't been any hard feelings for Ty.
No, they've all been very sweet and loving and accepting.
So what is the biggest thing that you have learned since he came into like your lives? What's the biggest, if you were to name one big lesson that you have learned, what have you learned?
Make sure you have good insurance.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I feel like I feel like I'm a shy person anyway. So when I saw like people with different needs, like I was never outgoing. I don't know. I see them differently. Like I admire people so much that care for these people, but also the person themselves. Like they just have, I don't know, just such a sweet spirit. So I don't know. I guess that's one thing I've learned is just so much more compassion and love for differences in people.
For me, it was being around people that have special needs growing up. That was difficult. I had a cousin with Down syndrome and I never really knew how to act around her. She was very sweet and I'd give her a hug and she'd give me a hug back. But I didn't really understand how to interact very well. And now, it just given me a whole new perspective and understanding. So for me, I'm able to, it definitely is different when they're your own and you just have that unconditional love. And so for me, I've learned how to, I've understood better. I've learned, that I shouldn't be worried or afraid because they're just sweet and loving.
And one thing I was never good at being there for others, like when they were going through things. And it was more because I didn't know how to be. And I feel like seeing how people have served us has helped me know, like just going out and getting them a donut or cookies or something, like you could just do something so small and it makes people feel so good, like just to know that they're loved. So that, I think it's helped me know how to better serve people, even if it's just a small thing.
Awesome. So I'm looking at this question and it's literally making me tear up because of the events that have happened with our other sister today. But if you were to give counsel to another family experiencing a similar situation, what would you recommend?
Have good insurance. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry.
Always.
No, I think you need to allow yourself to feel what you need to feel. And it's okay if you don't want to let people in right then. I think you just really need to be okay with you and what you're going through.
It's a process.
There's no easy answer. Like there is no easy answer.
Yeah. And you're gonna have your hard days and you're gonna have your good days. But as you rely on your faith and that support system and you know, surround yourself with those things that, you know, bring you joy and happiness. Like you're going to have some really tough times. I mean, that's going through that emotional roller coaster, especially when your child's in the NICU for 6 months and it's, you know, touch and go, and every day it's a new diagnosis or something different they want to look at.
Basically, you can get through things, and it might be slow, but things work out how they're supposed to work out. And it may not be how you planned, but
there's a plan.
Yeah, there's a plan, and you get to a good point. And I know there's always going to be things, but I know, you know, we've gotten this far, like we've gone through.
We can do hard things.
Yeah.
And make it through.
So, I mean, I just think you need to be patient with yourself, and you just need to know that there are such good days, and you're going to get some amazing experiences because of these hard things.
Absolutely. So last question, considering like, you know, all the help and support and love and prayers that you received from family and people around you, what do you think were the most helpful outside resources when it came to coping and being able to get help and knowing that you weren't alone in this situation? What things were most beneficial in showing you love and support and to helping you guys feel strengthened?
For me, it was to have an outlet that I could kind of go vent to, that wouldn't put more stress and burden, say, on Lacey or the family. And that a lot of that fell on my parents. I kind of go up there, and they also had the dog therapy there for me. So they have Molly and Javi, the two little dogs that are, you know, I keep trying to steal and bring here, but you know, the two dogs come and just maul you and love on you, and then just kind of get the frustrations out and talk through some things. That's what helped me as an outside outlet. Then I could come back to the family and kind of be that rock and that support. And, you know, I've kind of got my batteries recharged, and now I can let people lean on me a little bit.
And that is very true, because I feel like a lot of everything fell on Dave. Like when I was upset, Dave got to hear it all. He was so patient about it. But I mean, other people, like the NICU nurses, I have so much love for them because they were kind of my therapists. Like we talked out everything. They just provided so much emotional support, and I really appreciated that they also brought the faith aspect into the NICU. Like it wasn't just earthly things they would talk about. Like we looked at the whole picture, and I felt like that was.
Well, we knew they were taking such good care of Ty when he was in the NICU too. I mean,
they sent us pictures.
That's such a relief to be able to. It's hard to leave, and to have that knowledge that, you know, I joked and call them Ty's girlfriends because, you know,
and that's why it took so long in the NICU, because Ty was getting all this special attention. And
but I mean, he would get daily massages, and he would get baths, and he would get snuggled, and to know that people were taking care of our son and loving him when we couldn't be there because of work or other obligations. I mean, that was a huge support too, to know that, I mean, such a quality organization was just, you know, loving our son, not just treating him medically, but, you know, had his best interest in mind and wanted to make sure he wasn't bored and wasn't upset, you know?
Yeah.
They truly loved him. Awesome. Is there anything else you guys want to add or contribute?
No.
Well, I mean,
those thoughts.
Yeah.
The ending thoughts.
I mean, even though things turned out differently than we had anticipated when starting our family, I think, you know, I couldn't imagine it any other way. I mean, it's funny how life changes directions on you.
And this would have not been us a year ago. Like,
yeah,
this, honestly. You honestly,
we've come a long way.
So much through situations like that. And that, I think, is what I take to heart most, is I'm like, oh, like, I feel like I'm gaining a whole new understanding of things, and I'm able to see things differently because of this trial.
I've also started getting gray hair. So
Yes.
that's a new thing.
Are you just because you're getting old too?
I finally turned 30, and my knees are going out, my back, and I'm getting gray hair. So I got that going for me, which is nice. But
do you feel like it's definitely made you stronger as a couple and as a family?
Yeah, I do. I feel like it really can go one way or the other. So, because there are times where you just don't even want to look, I don't know, be around each other. Because, I mean, you can get so overwhelmed with the situation. So if you don't, I guess, work through the feelings and everything, it really can, I feel it could fall either way.
The wheels could fall off and it could turn into a flaming ball of mess real quick if you didn't rely on the Lord and worked with each other to be that support system and really take to heart the understanding that there is a reason for this, that there is a plan, that it's not just woe is us and pick on us. And
yeah, and that's another thing. It's like you can think, whoa, like we are so picked on. Like not only did our son have spina bifida, like he ended up being born early. He ended up having this mutation. He has to have a G tube. He has to be capped. Like he had to be on this insane amount of oxygen. And, we're still not out of the woods if, he got really sick, needing a trach. Like you see all these things and it's just like, oh, that's hard. But I don't know. Like if you look at all the blessings from it, you realize
there's a lot of answered prayers.
There's so many answered prayers, and I don't think there's anything that can bring you more peace than finding out that.
Yeah. So, if this is not too personal, closing remarks too, how do you feel like this has strengthened like your relationship with your Heavenly Father and your knowledge of eternal families?
Well, I feel like Ty's kind of set the bar. So we have to make sure we all are good and get back there with him. Because, he's such a perfect little spirit. And I feel enormous gratitude to our Father in heaven that he has, he has blessed us with Ty and trusted us to raise such a special spirit. That in and of itself feels daunting at times to, you talk about feeling inadequate and feeling like, there's no way I'm meant to, I'm so inadequate to take care of such a perfect little spirit. But it definitely has given me new perspective and I strive to be better, to be a better priesthood holder, be a better father and husband. And I guess, a grown up, because I still don't feel old enough to have, 4 kids and a house and, all this other stuff. I don't feel like I'm to that point, but I am apparently. And so I got to start growing up a bit, but.
And I just feel like I don't know. One thing me and Dave always talked about, the biggest thing that helped us through, people would come up to us that like maybe didn't bring us dinner or something or watch our kids and they would feel guilty. They're like, I'm sorry, but you're in our prayers. I'm like, no, that is huge. Like, I am so great. Like, I feel like we understand prayer better. Like, where Ty is at right now is incredible. Like, with everything medically he has going on right now, it's like, there's no way he could have gotten this far without all the prayers from people.
Well, I don't think we could have gotten this far without all the prayers. There are times where I just felt this unknown presence just holding me up. Just helping me move each day and get stuff done.
I think back in the NICU and I'm like, how did we just do that for 6 months?
Well, every night I can only see Ty at night after work and the kids are in bed. So I go in at about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night.
And then have to get up.
And then have to come home and then get up. And, it's just, I don't know how, without the prayers and the strength from that.
Yeah, you definitely feel that that Heavenly Father's there bearing all this with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. You guys, like, I've had the opportunity to hold Ty, and I can't even tell you how precious that was to me. Like, you can feel his spirit, and I don't get to be around him as much as I would love to, but like, I know he's a special little boy. So I am very grateful you guys shared that. And yeah, so thank you.
Well, thank you. It was good to kind of talk about it again.
And I hope we answered them okay and we weren't all over the place.
Yeah,